You walk into rooms differently than other people, not in the way you hold yourself or the way you dress or any of the visible surface qualities that people sometimes identify as the source of attention. In something prior to all of that, in the specific quality of what arrives in a room before you have done anything, before you have spoken or moved or made any deliberate impression. Something in the energetic composition of your presence that registers in people's awareness before their conscious mind has processed what they are registering. People feel you entering. Not everyone knows that what they felt was you. Not everyone can identify, in retrospect, the specific moment of your arrival as the moment when something in the room changed. But the change happened, has been happening consistently. In every room where you have been present with people who have sufficient sensitivity to register what is not explicitly visible. And there are more of those people than you know. I want to begin with the everyone piece, because everyone is a large word and it deserves its honest treatment before we go anywhere else. Everyone does not mean literally every person who has ever encountered you. It means something more specific and more meaningful than that. It means that the specific quality of whatever you produce in people who encounter you operates across a range that is considerably broader than you have been giving yourself credit for. That the attraction you generate is not limited to a particular type, to a particular gender or orientation or background or circumstance. That what you are produces a response in people who are not expecting to respond and who do not always have context for what they are responding to. The breadth of it is what the everyone is pointing at, not universality. Breadth and breadth in this context is its own specific form of significance. Let me describe what I am reading in the energy of the people who are currently carrying something for you, because this reading arrived with a particular quality of multiplicity that I want to give you the full picture of. There are layers. The first layer is the one that is most immediately visible. The person or people whose feeling for you has been producing sufficient external evidence that you have been able to register it even without this reading confirming it, whose attention toward you has had a quality that distinguishes it from the ordinary, whose interest in you, while not yet officially named, has been present in how they engage with you in ways that someone with your quality of perception has been noticing. That layer you are aware of. The second layer is the one that exists slightly further back. The person or people who have been carrying something for you with a greater degree of containment, who have been more successful at managing the expression of what they feel so that the surface of their engagement with you looks closer to ordinary, who have been aware, possibly for longer than you might imagine, of a feeling for you that they have been organizing into a form that is manageable, that does not require them to do anything with it unless the right conditions present themselves. Those conditions are presenting themselves. The third layer is the most surprising. The person or people who you would not immediately identify as someone who carries something for you, whose position in your world does not obviously overlap with the territory of feeling, whose history of engagement with you, in whatever form it has taken, has not produced the kind of obvious signals that would have put them on any list you might have made of people who might feel something significant about you. They are on that list. They simply have not been visible on the version of it you have been working from. They are on that list. They simply have not been visible on the version of it you have been working from. I want to describe this third layer person more specifically because they are the most surprising and therefore the most worth preparing for. This person has been in your awareness in a category that did not overlap with feeling. Perhaps they have been in a professional context or a friendship that has felt comfortable and contained and without the specific charge that you associate with romantic or deeply significant feeling, or a connection that began at one level and has been slowly developing into something at a different level without the development being fully legible from the outside. The feeling in them developed gradually, not the immediate, obvious kind that announces itself in how they engage from the first encounter. The slower, deeper kind that arrives through accumulation, through the specific, repeated experience of being around you and noticing something in what you are that was not visible in the first encounter. That became visible through time and through proximity and through whatever the particular situations are in which they have been able to observe the full quality of who you are. That slow development feeling tends to be the most durable kind because it is built from evidence rather than impression. From the actual accumulated, I have now seen this person in multiple situations, and the picture keeps becoming richer quality of genuine familiarity. And genuine familiarity tends to produce genuine feeling. The surprise is that this person exists in your landscape at all in this capacity. Watch for them. M. I want to speak to the dramatic love confession because the title names it and the dramatic quality of it deserves its full description. Something is building toward expression, not in the gradual, gentle, slowly becoming clear way that some feelings find their expression when the person feeling them has a straightforward relationship with their own vulnerability. In the specific pressure building, this has been held too long quality of something that has been contained past the point of comfortable containment, that has been pressing against the structure of the containment with increasing force. That is approaching in the very near term the specific moment when the containment gives and the expression arrives, whether the person producing it has found the perfect form for it or not. Dramatic is the word, because what comes out of that kind of contained, long-held feeling when it finally arrives is not measured or carefully worded or socially calibrated. It is simply itself. The full, unedited, hasn't been smoothed by careful consideration version of what was inside. That version is on its way. I want to speak to what makes you so crushable. Because everyone has a crush on you is a claim that deserves its honest examination. What specifically is it about you that produces this across such a range of people? It is not a single thing. The people who develop feelings for you are not all responding to the same quality. They are each responding to the aspect of you that most directly touches what they most need or most value or most rarely encounter. The reason you produce this across such a range is because you are not a single thing, because the specific combination of qualities you carry is not simple enough to appeal only to one type, because you are in the specific, complex, genuinely developed way of someone who has done actual interior work, a whole person. Whole people are rare, and people who encounter a whole person for the first time, or for the first time in a particular period of their life, develop feelings for them with a consistency that is almost mathematical. Because what whole people offer is genuine, not the performance of warmth, genuine warmth, not the performance of intelligence, genuine intelligence, not the display of depth, actual depth, and genuine things in a world where performance is significantly more common than the actual produce a specific, distinctive response in the people who encounter them. They want more of it. They want proximity to it. They develop feelings about the person who carries it. Let me describe more specifically what each person is responding to. The first type is responding to your constancy, the specific, unwavering, you can actually count on this quality of someone whose core values and core character do not shift based on the audience or the circumstances or what would be most advantageous in a given moment, who is the same person in different contexts in a way that is unusual enough to register as significant to people who have experienced the alternative, who does not require them to manage what version of themselves to bring, because the version of you they encounter is consistently the real one. That constancy produces a feeling, a deep one. The second type is responding to your mind, the specific encountering something. I cannot predict quality of someone whose thinking moves in ways that are not ordinary, whose observations land at a register that most observations do not reach, whose sense of humor, when it appears, has an edge of actual perception behind it, rather than the deployed quality of someone who has learned that wit is appealing, whose engagement with ideas produces the specific, slightly charged feeling of someone who is never quite sure what comes next. That unpredictability produces a feeling, an addictive one. The third type is responding to your care, the specific quality of someone who cares about the things and the people they care about with a fullness and a specificity that is not performative and not conditional, who does not ration warmth, who pays attention in the full no part of me is elsewhere way, who makes the person in front of them feel in the specific moments of genuine engagement that they are the only thing in the room. That care produces a feeling, a longing one. Tell me in the comments which of those three types you think you are encountering most in your life right now. Whether the constancy resonators or the mind resonators or the care resonators are producing the most visible energy in your direction, and whether the dramatic confession I am describing has a specific form in your awareness. I want to know how this reading is landing. I want to speak to the dramatic confession specifically, because the timing of it is something I can describe with some precision. It comes when the person can no longer hold the contained version, not when they decide to say it, not when the situation becomes formally appropriate for it, or when they have found the perfect words, or when all the conditions they had been waiting for have assembled themselves into the specific arrangement they imagined would finally allow the saying of it. It comes when the not saying is more costly than the saying, when the specific daily requires renewal cost of maintaining the feeling in its contained form has finally exceeded whatever benefit the containment was providing, when the relief of the expression, even with all its attendant uncertainty and vulnerability, has become the more attractive option than the continued exhaustion of the holding. For the person who is closest to this threshold in your current situation, that calculation is tipping, not dramatically in their internal experience. The internal experience of the approach to this threshold has a quality of gradual, almost imperceptible movement, of each day of continued containment, adding a small amount to the total that makes the tipping slightly more inevitable, of the expression feeling slightly less optional than it did the day before. The tipping is very close. And when the contained thing tips, the expression that follows has the quality I described at the beginning: full, unedited, dramatic in its honesty. The tipping is very close. And when the contained thing tips, the expression that follows has the quality I described at the beginning: full, unedited, dramatic in its honesty. I want to describe what it feels like to be inside the tipping, because I think understanding the interior experience of the person who is approaching the threshold will help you receive what arrives from a place of genuine understanding rather than from a place of being caught entirely off guard. It feels like a decision that is making itself, not like they have decided, like the deciding is happening to them rather than being done by them. The specific, slightly vertiginous quality of someone who has been in the position of choosing not to say something for long enough that the choosing has been the effort and the saying has been what was being actively prevented. And now the prevention is exhausting, and the saying is simply what is left when the prevention stops. They are not choosing to say it. They are stopping the preventing of it. That is a different quality of expression than a decision produces. Decisions can be taken back, can be revised, can be announced with a quality of control that allows the person announcing them to manage what they have offered after it has been offered. Stopping the preventing is more irreversible, because once the contained thing has found expression, there is no version in which it did not. The saying happened. What it produced in the dynamic between you, what it creates as the new context for everything that follows, is now simply the reality. Permanent, whatever form it takes. I want to speak to something about how you receive a dramatic love confession, because this reading describes something arriving, and the quality of how it arrives is such that being prepared for it matters. You will be surprised. Even with this reading, even with the advance notice of the general territory, because what specific, personal, directed at you form the expression takes will exceed what the advance notice prepared you for. Because the specific individual, only this person would say it this way, quality of someone's genuine expression of feeling is always more specific and more personal and more affecting than any general description of the phenomenon. Let it surprise you. Do not manage the surprise into something more socially appropriate before you have actually been inside it. Do not pre-process it so thoroughly that the full landing of the thing is prevented by your protective management of the impact. The surprise is the most honest part of the reception. The moment in which you are genuinely, undefendedly in contact with what has been offered. Be in that moment before you figure out what you are going to do with it. I want to say something about the everyone quality in the context of what this means for you. You are not choosing from nothing. This is the practical, grounded, actually useful piece of what this reading is offering. The specific, multiple, across several layers quality of what is currently in motion toward you means that whatever the dramatic confession produces in terms of your own response, you are operating from a position of genuine, multiple, not hypothetical abundance. Not abundance in the acquisitive sense of having many people interested in you as a desirable feature of your situation. Abundance in the specific, practically meaningful sense of genuine options, of not being required to make the decision that whatever the dramatic confession asks of you from a position of scarcity, of not having to decide whether to respond to something or not from the specific, slightly distorting position of someone who fears that this is their only opportunity. It is not your only opportunity, not because others are better or because the dramatic confession should be dismissed, because you are someone who generates genuine feeling in a range of people. And knowing that as a factual, energetically grounded, not flattery piece of information about your actual situation changes the quality of any decision you make in relation to any specific person. Decisions made from abundance have a different quality than decisions made from scarcity. Make this one from abundance. As we close, I want to give you one final image, a room, you in it, the way you always are when you are fully inhabiting yourself, not performing anything, not managing the impression, simply present in the full, unself-conscious quality of someone who is genuinely themselves and who has enough of their own substance that the genuineness radiates without effort. And in the room, something moving. Not visible exactly, but present. The specific charged quality of multiple people in various stages of carrying something they have not yet said, in various layers of the awareness you have been operating from, each of them in their own relationship to the feeling they carry, each of them at their own point in the process of the feeling approaching expression, and one of them very close to the threshold, the one whose expression, when it breaks, will have the full, unedited, dramatic quality of something that has been held past its capacity. You will hear from them soon. And when you do, Virgo, you will understand everything this reading has been describing, because the full, honest, no longer contained expression of what someone genuinely feels for you is one of the more extraordinary things available to a human being. And you are about to receive it, not as something you earned through any specific action or effort, as something you are. The full, genuine, whole person quality of you has been producing this in multiple directions simultaneously. And the most powerful expression of it is on its way.